Stephan Hawkes here at Hawkes Studio with Guitar Tabs Daily. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Expresso FX Silicon Fuzz, which is a boutique high-end fuzz pedal made from NOS vintage parts that all the classic fuzz pedals back in the day would have had. It's a really simple pedal. It's just got volume and fuzz, and then it's got a switch for picking between the transistors. You've either got a vintage Toshiba or a vintage Philips. I'm not going to lie, it's not labeled which one is which. I don't know, but they have distinctly different sounds, and you know, honestly, you don't really need a tone knob with this thing. I find it to be extremely true to the EQ of the amp. And then, you know, if you want a little more oomph or a little more bass, you can just flip the switch and go to the different transistor that's in there. So again, the whole selling point of this thing is it's just made of extremely high quality, vintage, hard to get parts that all the fuzzes that everybody loves were made of. And it sounds every bit like that's the case. So be playing today out of my 2004 V-neck Fender Strat into Matchless Independence 35 on the Clean and Dirty channel, into my 1977 Marshall Blackback 30 cab with an SM57 and a Royer 121. So first we'll just hear what the fuzz can do, going from a clean so pretty polite clean tone, and then this is with the Silicon Fuzz all the way up. Yeah, so you can hear right away, it's got the power and volume to get over the volume of the clean amp. Takes the clean character of the amp and just adds a fuzz to it. It's a really good sounding fuzz. I don't find it to be the most outrageous fuzz because it's not really based on that idea of being like, just an endless sustained crazy, molten lava fuzz pedal. It's meant to be more of a boutique-y, just quality, quality for kind of for purists, I guess you would say. So I do find from the clean tone that I generally just kind of have both knobs all the way up in order to get a really cool sound. Obviously you can back off the fuzz amount and just get a little bit of a cleaner sound. So, and that's cool, and it's got a cool texture, but it's not really fuzz. So yeah, so all of the magic pretty much happens at the ends of the knobs, which is just fine by me, as long as the knobs get there and the tone is really good. This has a really nice, transparent, like pure kind of sound to it. It's also very easy on the ears without being dark. Some fuzz pedals I find, they get a little screechy. They can get a little bit, rough to listen to. Other ones can be a little too soft, but at least they're pleasant. This kind of does both. It's clear without being edgy. It has a very high quality sound and feel to it. And yeah, I really like it. I do think it shines a little more when taking an overdriven sound, but just in the sense that you can get more fuzz-like characteristics out of it. So, it still sounds incredible. It's just a little more on the overdrive gain level side of things if you run it into a clean amp. So here I'm going to flip the switch up. Again, I don't know which transistor this is, but I do find it to have a little more bass and be just a little bit kind of bluesier and tubier sounding. Yeah, so it's got that low end rumble as opposed to when the switch is down, it's a little clearer and taller. For my purposes, I think I prefer, the down position just because, again, my amp's got plenty of bass and fullness to it. So I don't need the kind of like the boost, but those are two different types of things. So if there's lots of different types of fuzz. Everyone's kind of a different fuzz guy. So my preference on that with this guitar and this amp might not even be my preference with it in a different setup. Definitely doesn't mean you're going to prefer one over the other. So either way, they both sound great. They do two different things, kind of helps even out the tone on them. But this thing really comes to life when you put it into a mildly overdriven amp, which is generally what fuzz people do anyway. They're not going for the like stark clean to distortion kind of AB like 2-channel amp guys often do. I feel like, you know, you take an amp, you crank it up, you get a little bit of gain out of it, and this thing just takes it to the next level. Here's the Matchless on channel 2 with a little bit of gain. So not that gainy, you know, it's just kind of a nice pleasant overdrive. And here it is on the down position cranked. Yeah, so it's cool. You know, I like that kind of cool sustaining thing it's doing in the breaks. Obviously, you play with a fuzz, you're not really trying to get hard breaks that much anyway. But this one's controlled enough to do it. And you can hear that it just kind of elevates the amp and just sounds expensive. It really is super pleasant at any volume, but sounds nice and grindy. It's just quality components. That's what you get. You know, the cheaper the components, the cheaper the sound. So you can definitely tell there's a lot of high quality stuff in this. Let me switch to playing the flipped up switch part, the slightly bassier sound. Yeah, so with that, I mean, that's got a little more of that kind of Velcro-y texture to it that is kind of a lot of fuzz guys things. So yeah, I mean, I don't know if I really, on the distorted channel, I don't know if I really have a preference. It just kind of comes down to like, that was making me do some cool grippy palm muty riffs, whereas this one's a little more of just a traditional sort of, you know, sound to it. Yeah, so the up position is just a little slower and a little squishier and a little bit rounder, but they both sound really good. Takes a mildly overdriven amp and makes it sound elegant and expensive. You know, this is just a great classic fuzz pedal for a fuzz purist. I mean, obviously, you know, I mean, this will do any kind of fuzz you're trying to do, or, you know, you're trying to do 60s and 70s stuff all the way to like doom metal, but you're definitely not gonna be able to go from a clean channel to full on crazy endless sustained doom fuzz with it. But that's just not what it's designed to do. There's a lot of pedals that do that. I've reviewed a bunch of them. I own a bunch of them, and they're great. But as far as just like a real accurate vintage style fuzz, this thing sounds as good as anything you could ever hope to have. So yeah, Expresso FX Silicon Fuzz does exactly what it says it's going to do. Thing sounds great. Hits the amp perfectly. Doesn't have an EQ. Doesn't need an EQ. So great work.